And we're going to come back to first steps in just a little bit, but I want to really highlight something you mentioned, and that is the team. This is true whether you're an adult or whether you're a minor. Having a team around you is going to be key because, first of all, a lot of the effects are going to be medical in nature, or a lot of the symptoms are going to be medical in nature. But it's also going to be regular conversations because, again, as a long-term issue, there's going to be many conversations that lead to this. And so medical professional, who's on that team to, if I say, maybe this is me, who do I need on my team?
Well, I would say definitely letting your adult or your parent know first that you're even thinking about having concerns about this. That's the first place you should go. However, I know a lot of kids don't, because I think a lot of kids have some of these feelings and they don't, they're not aware that this may be something that's going on. So kids will come to me, which I'm great, and I'm so glad that you guys use me as a resource for that. They'll come to me and say, you know, I'm tired and I'm stressed out, my grades are failing, I can't seem to get it together. And so then that's where I, as the school social worker, reach out to parents and let them know that, hey, your kid's exhibiting this, this, and this, you may want to get that checked out. So whether they go to their primary care physician or pediatrician, that's one avenue. There's lots of different therapeutic agencies, whether you go for a private practice or a community mental health agency. They're all very well versed in that. And another thing that I do for parents is to help link them up with those sorts of resources so that they know where to go.
So I think the very first thing that we need to make sure is that people understand that help is available and it's not hard to come by. The first place is in your home. Mm-hmm. Talk to someone in your home. If that is either happened or not happened, maybe the next step is talking to someone in the school, and ideally social worker. But let's be honest, maybe you don't know Miss Howley, and maybe your first contact is maybe Miss Billingsley, or Mr. Downing, Mr. Reed, your coach, your teacher, somebody that you have as an adult that you have some comfortable relationship with. And the reality is, if you come to me as your math teacher, I am not going to be a very good expert in this topic. But what I can do as an adult in this building is get you to somebody that is more of an expert to myself, and then they can determine, yeah, we do need to take this to a larger team, or no. That brings us to first steps. What is absolutely the first step if a student is concerned that maybe this does sound like me?
Then I would encourage them to come to whomever they feel comfortable talking to. And I think that that's really hard for kids and adults because there is such a stigma against mental health, or like that there's something wrong with me if I'm feeling depressed or anxious or whatever. So I would say to be courageous enough to say, hey, I'm struggling. That's the first step.
And you know, you mentioned that sometimes there's a stigma attached to it, some kids don't want to, but at the same time, you also mentioned a lot of agencies, a lot of people that you have a list that you can go down. Folks, if it's that common that there's a whole list to help people deal with this, it's pretty common. Now, what about students who say, well, I've never heard of anybody that has depression. I'm different, I am unique, something's wrong with me because I've never heard of anybody with depression.
And maybe they don't know anyone that has depression or has been diagnosed with depression. I think we all probably know someone who exhibits one or more of the symptoms that we talked about earlier, whether it's irritability or low motivation or just a depressed mood over time. So we all probably know someone who feels like that. They may not admit it and freely share that information that, hey guys, guess what? My name is Elizabeth and I have depression. You're probably not going to come across that.
And I think that is part of the key is the likelihood is looking at the numbers. You probably do know somebody with depression. You probably know someone who's being treated in some way, whether it be a therapeutic session treatment, whether it be a medical assistance treatment. Regardless, they probably are. But why would people go around just telling that those are private things. And in this vein, it is a very private issue. And so if I'm a student and I come to you, who are you going to share this information with?
Only the people who are absolutely, essentially in the need to know. So kids are allowed to come see me up to 5 times without parental consent. And I always tell kids when they come in, really the only times that I have to break confidentiality is when it's a safety concern for them or for someone else. So if a kid comes and tell me they're depressed, I would offer them some suggestions of what to do, and then I will kind of leave it up to them. Do you want me to talk to your parents, or would you rather take care of it yourself? If I see things continuing over time and not improving, then I absolutely get parents involved. Depending on the situation, Mr. Downing will be made aware as well.
Now, why does Mr. Downing need to know?
Because Mr. Downing kind of wants to, number one, if there's a kid that's struggling, he wants to know about it so he can be a part of that team to try and help resolve the situation. Plus, there are certain times where there are exceptions to things that need to be made, and so when it's a mental health situation where a kid may need to be excused from class because they're having a hard day, or they've got counseling or doctor's appointments where that would, have them missing school. That's something that he would need to know.
So this is not a punitive. It's not something that they're going to get in trouble that Mr. Downing needs to know. It's a whole lot more. Mr. Downing, A, wants to help because of who he is, but B, it's his job to help and make sure that you're getting what you need when you need it without everybody else necessarily knowing about it.
Absolutely.
So those are some things that I think we need to be very careful of. We've given you some symptoms that may be indicators, but remember, over a longer period of time. Also remember, multiple symptoms, and remember, you are not a doctor and neither am I. That's why we have teams that we want to build around people to address whatever issues that you're having, whether it be depression or something else. The process is going to be very, very similar across the board.